Executive orders are regulations issued by the President. Provided that they are based either on his constitutional powers or laws passed by Congress, they have the force of law. Federal courts will enforce them just as if they have been enacted by Congress, provided that they do not conflict with federal laws. An executive order that carries out a law may later be revoked by new legislation. An executive order can be nullified or canceled if the Supreme Court or lower federal courts find that it is unconstitutional. The first executive order, issued by George Washington on June 8, 1789, instructed the heads of departments to make a, quote, clear account of matters in their departments. Since then, the orders have been used to regulate the civil service, to determine holidays for federal workers, to organize federal employee unions, to institute security programs, and to classify government documents as top secret. They have been used to designate public lands as Indian reservations and for environmental protection. Executive orders are also used to organize federal disaster assistance efforts and organize intelligence agencies. On July 26, 1948, President Harry Truman issued Executive Order 9981. This order brought an end to racial segregation within the ranks of the United States military forces. The written document was short and to the point, containing only 6 paragraphs and less than 250 words. This executive order addressed 4 main points. First, it declared the President's policy of equal opportunity for all persons in the armed services, without regard to race, color, religion, or national origin. Second, it created a 7-member committee on equality of treatment in the armed services. Third, it authorized the committee to examine existing rules and determine what changes would be necessary to carry out the policy of integrating services. And lastly, it directed all executive departments and agencies of the federal government to cooperate with the committee in its work.
Another important executive order is Executive Order 9066. Executive Order 9066 was the Internment of Persons of Japanese Ancestry Order. This order was signed by President Franklin Roosevelt on February 9, 1942. The order gave the military broad powers to ban citizens of Japanese ancestry and move them into internment camps run by the U.S. military. Originally, this military power was issued to the states of Washington, Oregon, California, and Arizona. However, as time passed, it continued to spread east. This bill also applied to people of German and Italian descent. Around 3,200 people of Italian ancestry were arrested and 300 were interned. 11,000 German residents were also arrested and 5,000 were interned. However, the group that was most targeted were those of Japanese descent. Around 120,003 Japanese people were interned. 62% of the population of Japanese people that were either interned or arrested were second-generation people of Japanese descent, meaning they were citizens when the U.S. government took away their rights. On January 2, 1945, the camps were finally closed and the internees returned home to much loss. They had lost all of their property due to the order. A number of people had died due to the bad medical care at the camps, and an overwhelming number of people had feelings of helplessness and personal insecurity that would take years to correct. On February 19, 1976, Gerald Ford rescinded the order, and on November 21, 1986, George H.W. Bush signed a bill authorizing families to be paid back for things they had lost in the Japanese internment policy.
On March 1, 1961, President John F. Kennedy signed his executive order establishing the Peace Corps, but it wasn't until September 22, 1962, that Congress approved the legislation for this organization. 3 goals were established for the Peace Corps. The first was to help people of interested countries meet their needs for trained workers. The second goal was to help promote a better understanding of Americans in countries where the volunteers served. Lastly, the organization aimed to promote a better understanding of other nations on the part of the Americans. The Peace Corps was one of Kennedy's most famous legacies. He was late to give a speech to students of the University of Michigan when he was met with a crowd of 10,000 people at 2 in the morning. There, he challenged the students and youths all over the country to devote 2 years of their lives to help other struggling nations in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. After a few weeks passed, students had already gathered 1,000 signatures for a petition aimed to support the idea. Others pledged to serve, which ultimately led to the founding of the Peace Corps.
As you can see, executive orders are extremely important. The executive orders give the president a lot of power in determining things for this country. And as you can see by these 3 examples, the president was able to create the Peace Corps, put Japanese people in internment camps, and desegregate the military, which have had tremendous effect on our country.